Because you clicked on this video, you're at such an advantage compared to every other student. I took my GCSEs 18 months ago now and I got 12 A stars. The only reason why that was possible was because, as well as learning the content for those grades for every subject, I also learned how to learn that content properly. This ultimately meant that when I was learning new content and when I was revising, I could get a better understanding of that content more quickly than most other people. There's definitely people out there who spend a lot more time revising than I do and still don't get the grades which match their potential. The reason why is because their learning isn't effective at all. I bet they put in many hours into studying and they work very hard to try and learn as much content as possible. One thing though is learning the content, but a better and more high level thing is learning how to do that properly so you spend less time studying. And so I hope this video reaches those types of people in particular. People who work incredibly hard and have that capacity too, but may not be studying the most effective way. This video is all about making your studying more effective and more efficient. So one, you spend less time studying, but two, you get a lot more done in that time. So this is my 4-step protocol to becoming a better learner. Step 1 is understanding what time is best for you to go and do your work during the day. I'm someone who's experimented with this a lot over the past few years. I've tried pretty much every single time possible, well, not to the minute, but in time periods during the day. I've tried revising in the morning, a bit before lunch, early afternoon, in the evening and late evening as well. And I've found that on a consistent basis that the morning is the best time for you to work. That's not something that you should copy. If it doesn't work for you, then obviously don't do it. But for me, there's a few specific reasons why the morning works for me. And I feel like it's helpful for me to share those because even if you're adamant that maybe the late evening works for you, once you understand the reasons which I give for working in the morning, maybe you'll start to realize that your work could be more effective if you do study in the morning. My routine at the moment for my work is I wake up, I have some water, I use the bathroom, then I start working in the morning. My routine for the weekend is I wake up, I use a small morning routine, drink some water, use the bathroom, then I'm starting to work. I'm working within maybe half an hour of waking up. The reasons which I give for why I do this is because I'm fasted and I've got the most energy possible in the morning for that day. This may be simply because I'm a morning person. I wake up at 5:30 every day on the weekend, simply because that's how my body works. But my first point was the more interesting one. I am fasted while I work. And I feel like that should apply to any time when you decide to do your work. You normally feel more tired or more sleepy after you've eaten. That's from personal experience, and I'm pretty certain that you've experienced something like that before too. So in reality, it really doesn't matter what time you work, whether it's the same as mine or completely different to mine. All that matters is that you actually have a time that works for you and that you are fasted before you do your work. There's no point eating then doing your work because your body is busy digesting that food and you're more likely to feel more tired. You've definitely experienced that before, I'm sure. So for practicality, just think of one time where you feel like you won't have eaten before and you're likely to be more productive in that time because it's worked for you in the past. That should become a routine. On maybe 9 out of 10 weekends or weekdays, you will find yourself studying or doing your schoolwork at that time. So now we have this nailed down. You've got this good idea of when the best time to work is for you, and you're likely to allocate maybe 1 to 2 to 3 hours from that time to do all the work you need to do. The next 3 steps are all about making that work block as effective as possible. Step 2 is a very brief process about how you should go about learning new content. All you need to do is have a grasp of the idea of the content, develop your understanding on it, and then test your understanding. That's pretty much how every single exam will go. You're going to get a question on some random piece of content within your syllabus, and you have to ultimately show your understanding and how well you understand that content through your answer. The way that I did this to ultimately guarantee all of my A stars was by having a very good understanding of that content. So when I get exposed to new things, what I do is I make a note of it, so very quick, then I spend time unpacking it. Do I understand what's going on? Do I understand how the mechanisms work in chemistry or the chain of reasoning in philosophy? Do I actually understand what that content means and how it may apply to the greater topic? I spent a lot of time unpacking different pieces of content because once I understood it, it's not like I would immediately forget. Understanding something is obviously very subjective. Some people think that memorizing is understanding, but that isn't right. Understanding is making sure that you can explain it to someone else. I'm very fortunate that I have parents that understand content within the subject that I do. But if you don't have that, your friends are studying the exact same course. So if you can find time for you to explain a concept to your friend, then your friend to explain that same concept or different concept back to you, then you're testing your understanding. Can you answer questions about that content? That's how you become a better learner. Learning is all about getting a really, really good understanding of things. The moment that you can, one, explain the content to other people, but also answer questions on that content, that's when you know you've understood it properly. That's how you go about understanding and learning new things. You'll become a lot better at that over time when you do it more and more, and that's how you become a faster learner too. You may think that step 2 is quite self-explanatory. Of course, if you can answer questions and explain concepts to other people, then you've learned it and understood it properly. Step 3 is not something that you may have immediately thought of. It's all about, once you've understood the simple bits, exposing yourself to harder pieces of content. And of course, that will require more effort. But if you are watching a video like this and do want to get the best grades possible, then you will be willing to put in that effort to understand content better, but also further your understanding in the subjects that you enjoy. This piece of advice is applicable to pretty much every single subject. There's a reason why your teachers, or you see online that there are recommended reading lists if you want to go and study that subject for university. And because universities offer quite a fair amount of subjects, pretty much every single subject does have a reading list. It's just like learning any musical instrument. If you can do a grade 4 piece on the violin, then you'll find a grade 2 piece or grade 3 piece significantly easier. That's what learning new content is like. If you do harder content, you'll find the content that you're doing at GCSE a lot easier. Then you'll become a better learner because you can learn simpler content more quickly. This will make your schoolwork feel really, really easy. I did this for maths because that's what I want to go and study at university. When I started learning about university level content, or maybe content at A level when I was doing my GCSEs, I found my GCSEs incredibly easy. I'd exposed myself to very, very difficult concepts so that my GCSE learning, or the level where I was actually at school, became a whole lot easier. This is not to say that you should completely neglect that work you're currently doing at GCSE. But if you do have spare time and you want to do a little bit of extra reading, that extra reading will benefit you greatly, specifically in the science topics, which I found personally. But there's no doubt that if you are studying philosophy or you're studying RE, that if you do a little bit of extra reading, you may find some extra case studies or a bit of knowledge that you didn't know before, and that would help you in your subject at GCSE or A level. And finally, step 4 is all about where you store new information. Your brain is there to create new ideas and not store them. That's something that I read quite recently in a book called Building a Second Brain by Tiago Forte. The book is all about being efficient with your brain space. You cannot store every new piece of information that you learn immediately and for a significant amount of time. You'll be a computer otherwise. The place where you do store new information is through your notes and not storing information in your head. If you believe that you can store every piece of information in your head without making notes, then by all means go ahead. I personally couldn't. Maybe you're actually a supercomputer and that's beyond my knowledge, but I know for a lot of people that making notes is incredibly useful. I've learned that you remember things better when you can make links and connections between them. The reason why I did suggest learning harder content is exactly for this reason. When you learn one thing in maths, maybe that's graphs, you can apply that to a lot of different things. So making connections between that one topic and every other topic in the subject. And this is why notes are particularly useful. You're going to be storing connections between things that you've thought of in your head, and that's how you ultimately remember things better and get a better understanding of those things too. And that's my 4-step protocol complete. If you did find this video helpful, I do have a Discord down below in my description. But before then, I'll see you in the next video.